would you say is the current state of manhood? And is manhood on the rise, true manhood, or is it on a decline? And what can we do as men to lead other men to step into their role, their God-given role?
Who is that asked that question? Mute. Joe, I would say, well, there's a lot of things that's wrong. What's wrong with manhood today? I mean, there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of variables, but just basically I'd say that, we've got men that, if you look at the culture today compared to where it was before, in the 1950s and 60s, the problem with manhood would have been a different problem. There were still problems with manhood, but it was a different set of problems. So what we're facing today in 2023, the problem with manhood, of course, is not the same as it used to be. But what I'd say today, one of the things is that our society, just modern culture, Western culture in general, tries to push away manhood. It tries to reduce manhood. You get attention and praise if you're less of a man, but if you act like a man and handle your business, people want to put you on the back burner. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One thing is because true men threaten the freedom of evil. Evil cannot run rampant when true men are present, because they'll put a squash to it, whether it's verbally, whether it's physically, whether it's with the written word, with their own life. It doesn't matter. They're not going to allow evil to affect their community and their people, their home, their children, their wife. They're going to stand in the gap. The Bible says in Ezekiel 22:30, God is talking, and he says, "And I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it." And if you take that from then, thousands of years ago when it was written, to today, if God's looking at our society today, trying to figure out, where are the men? Where are the men in American society? Where are the men in Western society? And I'm not saying there aren't any. There's men on this call right now. I'm not saying, I'm trying every day to be a better man, a stronger man. But man, we're lacking in real manhood. And I think that it's a cultural thing. There's a shift in culture. If you look at Greek history, Roman history, anytime they begin to hyper focus on gender and sexuality, there's a massive decline in manhood, and the whole culture collapses. Because, I don't care what they say in the colleges today. I don't care what they say in the universities. And all these people that are supposedly smarter than me, I don't care what they say either. You want to reduce manhood, it will cause the collapse of a culture. When men stand up and live a disciplined, regimented, sacrificial life, then culture will flourish. But when men reduce their manhood in an effort to fit in with a modern weak culture, culture collapses. These days, if you're trans, you get praised, but if you're a man, you get criticized and hated on. These days, if I decide to become a woman, I'll get attention, but if I just try to live as a man, I'll get, put on the back burner, and nobody will even appreciate me, let alone care about me. And so as men, it's a question of where we seek validation from. Do you seek validation from culture? Well, then you're never going to get it. You'll never be happy. Do you seek validation from your church? You probably aren't going to get it. And if you do, even then, it's not going to be good validation. Anytime we seek validation from other people, we're going to have to conform to what they want in order to get their validation. And that's not what a man does. A man wakes up and says, this is who I am. This is who God made me to be. This is who I'm trying to become. And because of that, this is what I'm going to do every day. I'm doing this because of who I am and who I'm trying to become. And if you don't know who you are, then how are you going to know what to do? If you don't know who you're trying to become, how are you going to know what to do? And so manhood, I think, is affected greatly by culture today, but also by selfishness. Men are lazy today. They're lazy, they're apathetic, they think that their wife is there to serve them. They think that the kids are a nuisance. It's like, dude, you exist to serve your wife. Your purpose on this earth is to serve your family And then after that, to serve your community. And by serving people, you serve God. Because the greater purpose of every man's life, why we were made, is to serve God. And the way that we serve God is by serving people. We can't even serve in our own home, but we think we're going to be a public servant. We can't even serve our wife and our kids, but we think, well, I serve in my church. But you don't serve your family. You go home and you're a jerk. You're short-tempered. You're a bad testimony. You run your mouth. You gossip and criticize. You yell at them because they don't take out the trash, but you don't do anything. You don't take the trash out. You don't cut the grass. You don't wash the dishes. You don't fold laundry, but you get mad at your family when they don't do it. Well, I go to work all day and I pay the bills. So what? So what? Why does that entitle you to not having to do anything at home either? Well, what you're doing is you're following the way your dad did it or the way you saw it on, some TV show from the 80s or 90s. That's not how the real world works. And that's not God's design for the home. Everything you want your family to do, you're supposed to do first. As a boss, as an employer, everything that you want your team to do, your employees to do, you should have already done long ago and continue to do multiple times. Now, I'm not talking about the micro, but on the overall, you're supposed to be doing what you want your people to do. Just because you used to do it, it doesn't matter. If you're not still doing it, then it doesn't apply. You can't ask people to do what you're not currently doing and what you're not willing to do. It's like a pastor of a church who wants his people to share the gospel, but he never shares the gospel. It's like a pastor of a church that wants everybody to love and respect him and follow him based on his past accolades that he did in his past life. It's like you haven't done that in 10 years, but you want everybody to remember who you used to be. We're also looking at who you are now. And so at the end of the day, manhood is about sacrificial service and a life of discipline. And that's why we have a decline in manhood, because we don't have enough good examples. There's not enough good examples of manhood. Where are we going to find them in? God couldn't find any when he was looking. Ezekiel 22:30, I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it. So God's looking. Let's pretend that verse applies to today, which it does. He's going to destroy our country if he can't find any men that will stand in the gap, that will make up the hedge and say, I'll do it. I'll take it on my back. I'll handle it. Put it on me. I got this, because I will live a sacrificial life of discipline. Man, if that doesn't fire you up, then that's a problem. And that's part of the problem we have with manhood, is selfishness. We want everybody to serve us, but we're not looking to serve others. We want God to serve us, but we're not ready to serve God. And until we realize that the ideal man is a servant who lives a life of sacrificial discipline, we're not going to be real men. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but you got me fired up with it, so I just had to throw all that out there.